Not to that. That's ridiculous.
It was getting the golden shower story on planted down. All
golden shower story? Are we still talking about politics? I thought we was talking about politics, man.
That said that if that Hunter Biden laptop story
have any arguments against that right now, and I want to see how it goes. This next joint right here is your boy, Bill Maher. Bill Maher is having a conversation with Vivek Ramaswamy. Yes, he is. But I want y'all to see this right here. So when he first came onto the show, zucchini is what it was. Bill Maher, pretty much, he grew a zucchini in his own yard for Vivek Ramaswamy as a gift.
Something from my garden.
Oh, that's nice.
Nice.
It does look nice, yeah.
Have you ever seen a zucchini that big? I think it's a little better than nice.
It's substantial. It's substantial, yeah.
Well, Jesus Christ.
I appreciate that, yeah.
You know, I was talking to such a stud that you find this merely substantial.
Oh, you see that? It's like, what do you mean? You call this just nice? You never seen a zucchini this big and this large. I didn't know I was talking to such a stud that you would think that it was just merely substantial. I mean, yo, how come you're not super excited by the size of this zucchini that I have in front of you? This big zucchini that's in both of my hands in front of you right now. Why aren't you talking about how huge it is? I'm certain most of the people that I invite on my show would have really nailed it when I put that big zucchini in their face. Come on, bro. You're not interviewing Bill Burr.
I mean, are you kidding? Where, have you just been at the Iowa State Fair or something?
I've been hanging out there a lot, yeah.
Okay. Well, don't they have like biggest vegetable
I think
prizes? Wouldn't this?
I think you got to go there and compete. Have you ever been to Iowa?
No, I don't want to go there. I just want you to admit that this is like
it's very impressive.
Thank
it's very
you.
impressive. Yeah, yeah, it's very.
Well, it's yours
well,
because
thank
I
you.
heard you hadn't eaten.
Zucchini. I'm gonna take it with me.
No,
I'm gonna take it with me.
Well, they said you were hungry.
Yeah. Well, you know.
You see that, man? That's just ridiculous. Why in the hell? Like, come on, right? I just want you to admit that this thing is huge. I just need for you to. We cannot move on with the interview until you admit that this zucchini is the biggest zucchini you ever seen in your life. And if I was in a competition, I will win.
Explain to you why it's not cookie.
It's the FBI?
Yeah, let me explain that to you right now.
Who's going to collect taxes and catch kidnappers? You?
So let's talk FBI, actually. You want to talk FBI?
Oh, jeez. Yes, please.
I'm impressed. No, you've been reading the platform.
I do this for a living.
This
Hello,
is good.
you've been on my show,
this is
right?
Good. Yeah, but
you know who I am?
Yeah, no, I know.
I'm up on political stuff.
Yeah. You're up into political stuff, but this is getting into the details. So shutting down the FBI.
Well, that's a pretty big detail. Get rid of the FBI?
Yeah, I would shut it down, and I'll tell you why.
Oh, Jesus.
You ready to have an open? You're an open-minded guy.
I'm listening.
I know you. You will listen. So that's why I'm bothering with this, right? By the way, I have a book recommendation for you before I get to it. G-Man, Government Man. It's the history of the FBI. J. Edgar Hoover's history of the FBI. You read that book, that will already open your heart and mind to the argument I'm about to make.
I'm already reading a book about cross-dressers, so I can't.
Okay, well,
no, I'm kidding.
This can come next,
No.
You see, it's everything is a joke, but he's sitting across from him with his drink and his stogie, and you know what I mean? He's trying to keep it lighthearted. Bill is just doing what Bill does. He's trying to make sure that his style of commentary is relevant when talking to Vivek, because he knows that nobody else has done this style of interview with him. So let's give him some grace, all right? Let's give him some grace. He's not talking about zucchini no more. He's listening. Let's give him some grace.
Okay,
go ahead.
Cross-dressers are important too. But the gist is this. The FBI is a failed institution. It is at once politicized, corrupt, and has been in many ways designed to be corrupt. J. Edgar Hoover designed it that way. The same FBI that threatened Martin Luther King with suicide, blackmailing him over incorrectly collected tapes, is now targeting its domestic terrorists for people who show up at concerned parents of school board meetings. So in some ways, this is built in by design.
That's coming from the FBI?
Yeah, it's coming from the FBI. Now, here's an answer to this, okay? At the local level, you've got local cops and you've got local prosecutors. You don't have a separate bureaucracy sitting in between. Well, now let's talk about the federal level. You've got the U.S. Marshals, and then you've got the DOJ. The DOJ has its issues, but I think the president can reform that through good appointments. You don't need the separate bureaucracy sitting in between. So I'll walk you through the math, because I know you like details for this to be credible.
Well, certainly for this issue.
Yeah, for this issue, right? Because you brought it up. 35,000 employees at the FBI. 20,000 of them report into work at the J. Edgar Hoover building. Still, they celebrate his legacy. The J. Edgar Hoover building of the FBI they walk into. That's
Washington.
The bureaucratic rot. That's in D.C.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so Vivek Ramaswamy is sitting across from you, breaking down why he says that he will take down down the FBI. He's breaking down to you why he believes the FBI is crooked and the importance of it all. While he's doing this, Bill Maher is making himself a drink. Bill Maher is making another drink. Y'all have been sitting down for all of 5 minutes. And you are making another drink. I don't get it, man. Like, you knew you were inviting him to the show. You knew that you were about to interview him. Are you just not comfortable enough to just sit there and just talk to him without having a drink in your hand, without having a stogie in your hand? I don't get it, bro. Like, okay, let's not lose focus, man.
So you're saying 20,000 of the 35,000 FBI men work in Washington the same, they fit 20,000 people in one building?
I mean, it's a giant building.
20,000 people in that building?
I don't know how many of them show up in the post-COVID era for Zoom or whatever, and they have field offices.
Well, that is a big building.
But I'm saying are in back office functions. 15,000 of them are frontline agents. These are good people doing investigative work on drug crimes or trafficking or whatever it may be. They're not specialized at the FBI. So I've offered, if I may say it myself, unprecedented detail on how to get this done. Those 15,000 moved some of them to the U.S. Marshals, which have been far more effective at fighting child trafficking rings than the FBI. Moved some of them to the DEA, which has been far more effective on the front lines of the fentanyl epidemic than has been
if
the
you're going to
FBI.
get rid of an agency, why don't you get rid of that one, the DEA?
Well, actually, the investigative crime, I mean, we have laws in this country, so you could debate whether you like the laws or not. But I'm saying as long as you have the laws, we're talking about effectiveness here. Okay. And my point is the FBI is broken. Take financial crimes.
So you're saying the 20,000 people who work in Washington, they are all superfluous?
I can't tell you that every one of them to the last T is, but I've got 4 years to first term. I got to move quickly.
Yeah, I think you just
And so I say chop it off, shut down the FBI, move them to the U.S. Marshals, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network at the U.S. Treasury, to the Secret Service, which handles some financial crime as well, and then to the DEA.
Okay,
That's the answer.
So here's something the FBI was involved with. So I'm asking who would handle this.
Yes.
Say an ally country like Australia has a tip, and we trust that they are an ally and the person is credible.
Yep.
And he has been talking to someone who got drunk in a bar and said he had information about how a foreign country, Russia, was trying to infiltrate our election. And he was placed in this candidate's operation. He was an operative for the person running for president. So the Australian diplomat tells the FBI. Do you think that's right?
Well, I think we could separately talk about the circumstances of that particular case. But you're saying somebody gets a tip.
Well, that's how the Trump-Russia investigation happened.
Which, I mean, you could argue this in multiple ways, Bill.
Now, we'll say this. His taking drinks, his pouring drinks and mixing drinks, being a bartender, wow. Smoking a J and interviewing Vivek Ramaswamy. He's still asking some pretty relevant questions. He really is. He's not losing any steps. He's paying attention to him the entire time. And he's still keeping Vivek on his heels while doing so. Maybe this is just how he works. Maybe this is just the style of delivery that he wants to get across. Like, I want to be. Maybe he's trying to rebrand himself or something. He got the Hawaiian shirt on. He's sitting in his multicolored chairs, which don't look comfortable for interviews, by the way. I mean, but at the end of the day, he's still holding his own. I'm certain some of you might think opposite, but from where I'm sitting, it looked like he's still able to ask him follow-up questions that are testing Vivek Ramaswamy, like the one about the DEA and not the FBI. That one was not clearly answered by Vivek Ramaswamy, but let's continue.
Well, what I'm arguing is this.
You could say that actually is part of the corruption that led to
Okay, but what I'm arguing is this, because this is what happened. An Australian diplomat, somebody we trusted, said this guy, it was George Papadopoulos, I think was his name, was a little drunk one night, and he was telling him about how much the Trump campaign team was coordinating with the Russian government. Now, we can argue the rest of the night about what happened after that. Of course, they did. But should that not be investigated by the FBI? And if not the FBI, I don't see how the federal marshals or the Texas Rangers are going to handle that one.
Before we continue with this, I just wanted to say, you're talking to Vivek Ramaswamy. You're getting his own personal ideas about FBI and CIA, all of the three-letter agencies, right? Why do you want to bring up his competitor? Why do you want to bring his competitor into the conversation? conversation. I mean, I will feel some type of way if you brought me onto my onto your show and you introduce my opponent into the conversation. Everybody's already talking about my opponent. You look on social media, on the news, everybody's talking about my opponent. Everyone knows my opponent. My opponent is kicking everybody's tail in the race right now, well, in the polls right now, for being the Republican candidate. Why would you bring him up? Well, he's bringing him up because FBI, he want to know if they're handling it properly based off of this, that, and other. You could have used another example, in my opinion, but he wants to bring up Trump. Let's talk about Trump. Vivek usually shines in these type of conversations, by the way.
Do you think U.S. Marshals would be a fine place if you move people to that division? As a side, I mean, I'm going to resist the temptation to go down the rabbit hole of debating something that's like a dead horse that we needn't beat for what was, I believe, a deeply flawed Russia collusion narrative that went nowhere. But let's just talk about something like it, is your question, for the purpose of reorganizing the FBI.
We have facts that are, well, at least fact, we have the reports of two Republicans. We had the John Durham report.
We have a Durham report, yep.
And what was the one before that?
The Durham report was about the FBI's.
Horowitz.
Yeah.
They were both about the investigation of the investigation.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
The FBI opened this investigation into whether Trump was too involved with Russia. Let's just put it that way, based on this Australian tip. And of course, it turned out he was. His campaign manager was sharing polling data with a guy in the GRE.
But you know who else was too involved with Russia? Was the Hillary Clinton campaign.
That's ridiculous.
It was via the British guy, Christopher Steele, with the Russian disinformation operative, getting the golden shower story planted down, all the news is opposition party.
Golden shower story? What the holy crap? Are we still talking about politics? We talking about golden showers now? I thought we was talking about politics, man. And now they talking about golden showers? Bruh, what have y'all gotten me into here? I want my kids to be able to watch this show. Are we talking about golden showers?
That's a red herring, and
I'm just saying both parties. Politics apparently is far dirtier than I ever imagined in both political parties. And I just don't think it was good for the country, Bill, that we had that impeachment inquiry for the first 2 years.
Let's go back to what we can actually talk about for real.
Yeah, because this is just like ancient stuff.
No. Because the two reports, the Durham report and they both said the same thing. And these are Republicans. At least Durham is.
I mean, to me, I could care less about the partisan distinctions.
Well, everybody else cares about it. So let's not pretend you don't care.
Well, the reason I don't care because there's a lot of, I think about it as whether or not you're part of the managerial class or whether you're actually being accountable.
Well, that's important too, but also.
And that exists in the Republican Party and the Democrat Party alike.
But we are crazy partisan right now, and people only stick with their team, even when they know better.
I tell grassroots conservative audiences across this country, even when I go to places like Iowa, and this will surprise some people. I think it's unique to now. I tell hard conservative audiences that I could care less for the Republican Party. I really could. And I go places like the south side of Chicago.
That's not brave. That's how Trump got elected.
Well, I mean, I think I hear something that's a little bit.
The Republican Party.
I'm not claiming to be brave. I'm just claiming to be where the country is right now. The country does not care as much for those partisan distinctions as the observers of politics would think.
Well, no matter how many times you beat that horse, Vivek, Bill Maher has a point to make, regardless if it's a good point or not. He wants to make the point that people are sticking to their sides no matter what. As a matter of fact, if you look at his face right now, look at Bill Maher's face, okay? You can see his really like he's stone-faced. It's like, I have to do something in order to, I'm certain, and I haven't seen anything past this point of the interview yet, but I'm certain he's going to light that bad boy up, light that J up in a minute, because he's trying to be there. He wants to be there. He knows the significance of this conversation. He knows the importance of this conversation because he's speaking to potentially the next leading Republican candidate, potentially, if things go the FBI's way, if things go, the Biden administration's way, if things go MSNBC and CNN their way.
I went to the south side of Chicago. I went to Kensington in the inner city of Philadelphia. And those are places where Trump didn't go or where other Republicans don't go.
Good for you.
Here's what I will say. I've probably done hundreds of campaign events. I have not been in a room that was more hard line on two things: closing the southern border and ending the war in Ukraine, than an audience of 200, mostly 99% of them black Democrats in supposedly hardcore left.
Doesn't mean they're right.
Inner city of Chicago, which is interesting.
Doesn't mean they're right or it's not the right thing to do to keep funding the Ukrainian war.
We can come to that in a second, but my point was a different one, which is that the partisan boundaries on two of the most important issues of our time, probably the most important foreign policy question right now, is what we do with the war in Ukraine. and a fundamental issue relating to our southern border, because they're turning South Shore High School into an encampment for migrants. It's a fascinating finding that no Republican has showed up there. Now, they differed from me drastically, and we had at it. One woman walked out and left when I'm against racial reparations. And so we have real disagreements, but the most, and I'm not exaggerating this, the most vehement agreement for militarizing the southern border and taking $200 billion to aid Ukraine for a community that says, wait a minute, A, this migrant's getting $7,000 per person per month in South Shore High School. B, we're sending $200 billion to some other country halfway around the world. What about me? And there are deep echoes of that in the non-establishment wing of the Republican Party as well, which is why I come back to the fact that, agree or not with the individual policy positions, I just don't think that right now, the moment we live in, R versus D captures it, which is inspiring, actually, as a possibility.
I wish you were right. I don't think you are about that. Not that everything you said there was wrong. I mean, it's important stuff. I mean, it's funny, you're such a good talker and you're such a likable guy. I think you really could go far. I mean, I must say, you're one of the few guys who I find both disarming and alarming.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. That is a compliment.
No, I mean it. No, I mean, look. You're attractive looking, you're young. The country is, first of all, here's a big advantage you have. Biden and Trump, people hate this matchup, and they hate that there's two geriatrics. So you're like the most not that.
They're both over twice my age, literally. Yeah.
Right. And, you've got color in your face that's not either orange or, ghostly.
Orange or ghostly. You're not a geriatric candidate, and we appreciate that. You actually got color in your face. That's not orange or ghostly.
But there are older people who can be sharp, and there are younger people who have lost their wits. But I would like to think, and I think so far we're having fun in this, bringing a young spirit to running the country. Even when I think about the cabinet, this is neither here nor there, but when I was running my companies, one of my philosophies was, even in the industries that I was in, right? So the first industry was the biotech industry. The median age at our company for the biotech industry was young.
You know what? Vivek is being nice, by the way, because you're absolutely right, Puff Puff. When he said you're such a good talker and you're attractive and you're young, those aren't compliments for where I'm going. I have ambitions for the highest office in the world at this point. A lot of people don't look at it that way. I do. Why? Because when it comes to being a superpower, a world power, I still look at us as being head honcho, king dingling, if you will. And the person who is the president of the United States of America is that guy. Potentially, this gentleman that's sitting across from Bill Maher right now. But Vivek is not going to call him out because Vivek wants to be friends with everyone. That's one issue that I have with Vivek, because he's too nice when it comes to being called out about things. Clearly, Bill Maher just said that you were wrong when you was talking. Yeah, you said some things right, but most of what you just now said was wrong. But it's difficult not to like you because you're a good talker, you're attractive, you're young, and in comparison to the people you're running against, nobody wants to see them run against each other. Like I like what they're adding to the mix. This ain't no entertainment spoof. This ain't a daggone boxing match, bro. But he's taking the sideways the backhanded compliments. He's taking them smooth. Like, he didn't call him out yet.